Monday morning arrived quietly, the kind that seemed to tiptoe in. The rain had finally stopped, leaving the streets slick and shimmering beneath the faint Seattle sun. Claire woke early to a silence that felt heavier than usual. For a fleeting moment, she forgot what day it was, until she remembered that Rachel was coming to pick up Evan. The thought pressed against her chest in a way she couldn't quite name. She moved to the kitchen, brewed coffee, and started breakfast, the warm scent of toasted bread spreading through the still air. Evan came downstairs soon after, his duffel bag slung over one shoulder. He looked rested, cheerful even, but there was a softness in his eyes, a quiet calm that only appears when something good is about to end. "Morning," he said, smiling. "Morning," Claire replied, handing him a mug of coffee. "Your mom should be here soon." He nodded and took a sip, the two of them sitting in easy silence for a while. There was no rain tapping the windows, no music playing, no rush to be anywhere. The weekend had slipped away too fast, and both seemed to feel the weight of it. Claire wanted to say something meaningful, something to fill the quiet between them, but every word she thought of felt too heavy, too final. So instead, she simply said, "I'm glad you stayed." Evan looked up, meeting her gaze. "Me too." They shared breakfast one last time, their conversation soft and ordinary, about school, his mom's recent trip, the holidays coming up. Yet beneath it all lingered something neither of them tried to name, a quiet understanding that didn't need words. After they finished, Claire moved to tidy the kitchen while Evan packed the last of his things. When she returned to the living room, she found him standing by the window, watching the wet streets glisten in the weak light. "You know," he said, not turning around, "I think this weekend changed something for me." Claire tilted her head slightly. "How so?" He paused, searching for the right words. "I guess I've been trying so hard to grow up fast, but here everything slowed down. It made me realize I don't have to rush to figure everything out." She smiled softly. "That's a good thing to learn early." Evan turned then, a faint smile curving his lips. "You helped me see that." Claire felt her chest tighten, emotion pressing against her ribs. "I didn't do much," she murmured. "You listened," he said simply. "That's more than most people do." The quiet moment between them broke when the low hum of a car engine drifted from the driveway. Rachel had arrived. Claire's heart sank just a little, though she straightened her posture and smiled. Evan lifted his bag, glancing around the room. The couch where they'd watched movies, the guitar leaning against the wall, the candle still sitting on the table from the night the power had gone out. Each small thing seemed to hold a memory. When Rachel knocked, Claire opened the door and greeted her with a warm hug. Rachel looked tired, but grateful. "You're a lifesaver," she said with a light laugh. "I owe you one." "Don't be silly," Claire replied. "It was nice having him." Rachel turned to Evan. "You ready, kiddo?" He nodded, then looked back at Claire before stepping outside. "Thanks for everything," he said quietly. "You're welcome. Anytime," she replied. He hesitated, as if another thought was forming, but instead he just smiled and followed his mother to the car. Claire stood in the doorway, watching as they drove off. The sound of the tires whispering over wet pavement grew fainter until only silence remained. She closed the door slowly, the house returning to its familiar quiet, but it didn't feel the same anymore. The silence was no longer heavy. It felt peaceful, almost comforting. Claire walked back to the kitchen, poured herself another cup of coffee, and sat by the window. The morning light spilled softly across the counter and the walls, and for the first time in a long while, she didn't mind the stillness of being alone. Her eyes drifted toward the guitar resting in the corner. Without thinking, she stood, picked it up, and brushed her fingers across the strings. The sound that came out was uneven, hesitant, but warm. She laughed quietly at herself. Maybe it was time to start again. Not just with music or art, but with life itself. Later that afternoon, when the sun finally broke through the thinning clouds, Claire decided to go for a walk. The air smelled fresh, the city gleaming as if newly born after the rain. Every little thing, the sound of her footsteps, the damp scent of earth, the faint chatter of people passing by, felt sharper, more alive. She realized how long it had been since she'd noticed the world like this. Down by the waterfront, she stopped to look out over the bay. The water shimmered gently under the light, calm and steady. It was the same place she and Evan had walked just 2 days before, yet it felt different now. Not sad, just full of quiet memories. She could almost hear his voice beside her, curious and thoughtful, talking about the future. Claire smiled, a small, genuine smile. Some people pass through your life quickly but still leave something behind that stays. Evan had done that, not because of love or longing, but because he'd reminded her how to feel again,